What's up, and welcome into your fresh Locked On Bulls for Thursday, October 14th. I'm Matt. That's Big Dave. Up ahead on today's program, we've got injury updates from both Coby White and Patrick Williams. One looks promising, the other less so. We're also going to talk about a specific piece that was written about Patrick Williams by one of those Bulls beat reporters that people either love or love to hate. Give our thoughts on that. And we're going to wrap things up with a look at the Bulls' final preseason game against Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. That's all ahead on a fresh Locked On Bulls. Let's go.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here are your hosts, Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson.
What's up, and welcome in to Locked On Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. You can follow my co-host, Big Dave Watson, at BAWL Sports. And you can follow us at Locked On Bulls. Shoot us an email, lockedonbulls@gmail.com, or hit us up on that text and voicemail line, 331-979-1369. We did some fun text and email topics in yesterday's episode, so if you haven't checked that out yet, Go listen to that episode. Go watch that episode on YouTube and subscribe to us on that Locked On Bulls YouTube channel if you aren't already. Big Dave, how are you, my friend? I know you were watching. Man, they came out on the losing end of it, but that Sky Mercury WNBA Finals game 2 last night was one of the most entertaining basketball games I've watched in a long, long time.
It was very entertaining. I came out with a whole new respect for the Sky and their resiliency, because there was definitely a play that happened where it would have broke a lot of teams. They were on a breakaway, bad pass on the breakaway. Phoenix steals it, gets it over to Taurasi for a baseline three, cuts it to 66-62. And from that point on, I said, uh-oh, they're in trouble. And I mean, they withstood that, took it, built the lead back up, got it to overtime. You know, they really had some resiliency. And I was like, the Sky are going to win this series. Like, that was my final thought. But I did watch some soccer, Matt. I looked at some soccer because you asked me to look at some soccer.
Yay!
I watched Team USA play. Yeah, it was a game.
That's about the extent of your thoughts on watching a soccer match.
A game happened. A match happened. USA won. I saw the goal that they won on, you know, because it was 1-1. It was a 1-1 tie when I tuned in.
Okay. So you missed the better of the two goals. Did you see the first USA goal they got to tie it?
No, the second one I was like, yeah.
Yeah. The second one was like, well, you know, kind of like hit off the post and then the keeper and then like went in, and they called it an own goal. They didn't even give the USA striker credit for the goal, which is a shame because it was still a good shot. But anyway, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you're trying something new after all the years I've tried to get you to watch a game of soccer. Meanwhile, the Sky home games 3 and 4, and we know that there will be 3 and 4 because the series is tied 1-1, sold out. And good for Chicago for coming out and repping that team. You know what game I will be going to, Dave? And I wanted you to be there with me.
Yes.
The Bulls preseason finale against the Memphis Grizzlies.
I want to
Shout out to a Locked On Bulls faithful listener, Kabir, who hit me up in my DMs last night and said, hey, season ticket holder, love your podcast. Can't go to the game on Friday. Do you want these tickets? So I was like, yeah.
Can we say something to Kabir? Because I couldn't make this preseason game. Don't let that stop you from sending more tickets our way, sir. If you got some more tickets during the season that you can't make, send them on, my friend. I will promise I will make time and be able to go to one of these games. I promise.
Well, and so he and I were chatting in DMs about how, you know, he'll definitely be there Joakim night. And I said, cool, we'll be there. And he was like, yeah, we can meet up then too. And, I'll like buy you guys a beer. And I was like, no. We will buy you a beer because you gave us free tickets. So now I got to find somebody else to be my date tomorrow night because I wanted it to be you, Big Dave. But shout out to Kabir, which, by the way, Dave, waited 15 years. He was telling me this, 15 years, the Bulls season ticket wait list. Finally got his season ticket offer after they traded Jimmy Butler.
Wow. Wow. So he sat through all of that. Hey
Yeah,
man, you are a fan. You are a fan. Much respect. Matt's right. We're buying you a beer. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you
right.
sat through some stuff, man. Oh wow, that's good stuff. Oh my
But
goodness.
brighter days ahead for
Yes,
Bulls
they
season
are.
ticket holders, and good for you. Speaking of brighter days ahead, positive update on one Patrick Williams. We're recording this late Thursday morning, so we haven't gotten word about Thursday practice yet. But the last we heard through the first 3 days of practice this week from Billy Donovan and Patrick Williams is, I feel good. I feel ready. Donovan says he looks good. He looks ready. Probably could even play tomorrow night against Memphis. Great news, Dave.
Very great news, Matt. He's a Wolverine. Like I told you last time, I wanted to start calling him a Wolverine, but I wanted to see how fast this injury healed, and it has healed like fast, and it just makes me feel good because the way it was presented to us, like a severe sprained ankle, like
Mm-hmm.
man, he's going to be out, and of course, we're
Right.
Bulls fans, and we've seen the past 4 years. Of course, we're expecting the worst. I get
Right.
that. So when
And
we see
because it
that,
was like right as training camp started, we were
right,
like, "Oh my
right,
god,
right, right.
we know this story all too well."
Right, right. We know how this ends. We've watched this movie. This is like the Fast and the Furious series to us. We know how this goes, okay? So it was different though. Like he had that and then he started running when we saw him started running a little bit and then we saw him playing, before the game and things like that. It never looked like anything was wrong with him. Never looked like anything was bad. We never saw a boot on him. Shout out Denzel. And he just looked good, and the fact that he has healed and it looks like he's going to play Friday and test that out. I honestly think that's important, Matt, that he gets out there before the season starts and get some of that chemistry, even if it's just a little bit of chemistry, with that, fearsome foursome in that starting lineup, man, because he's going to be very valuable piece for the Chicago Bulls this upcoming season. So I think it's important that he gets out there and test it out and have some fun with the guys. I know he wants to be
Right.
out there so bad. I know he does.
Right. And not just building up that chemistry with his new teammates, but also something else that Billy Donovan was talking about with Patrick Williams and even before the injury, as far as evaluating him this offseason, was conditioning. Conditioning,
Yeah,
conditioning, conditioning. Especially if
yeah.
you want Patrick to turn into one of those elite level two-way players who
Mhm.
can do some things on the offensive end, but certainly is very needed and very versatile on the defensive end. Those guys have got to be well conditioned. So
Yeah.
hopefully this, on schedule or even a little ahead of schedule return from Patrick Williams means the sooner he's out there playing 5-on-5 against real competition, the sooner he has those lungs back with him. A little
Yeah.
bit less optimistic update on Coby White, however, Big Dave. Donovan asked to give an update there, and he said, quote, "I would say we'd probably have a better feel in maybe another month."
Mhm.
Besides him being cleared to shoot and dribble and pass, he's really, really got to work on his range of motion and his strength and his range of motion. His strength and his range of motion. Those are things that are going on a daily basis. So he's not even in a position to do any contact at all. There's no
Mhm.
contact for him in the foreseeable future. Maybe it's not, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 weeks, maybe it's 4 weeks, whatever it is, I still think he's a ways away from contact. So
Mhm.
when we got the initial word on Coby's shoulder injury this summer, and then the expected timeline based on similar injuries and repairing surgeries for NBA players,
Mhm.
we were looking at mid-November.
Yeah.
So given that today is October 14th and Donovan is saying maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, but not for him to be back, for him to be reevaluated and see if
Yeah.
he's ready for contact. So
Yeah.
not a super optimistic update there.
It's not. Yeah, like you said, we had kind of penciled him in because we are doctors. We had kind of penciled him in to be back in November, and now when I saw that, I'm like, December? Is that what we're looking at here? Um, it's wild because, like he said, he can do everything. Kobe said this himself. He was like, I can do everything except kind of put my arm over my head because it's excruciating when I do that. That really really hurts. It's going to be tough for him, Matt. I really want to see him out there and playing with this team, and I know how bad he wants to because he finally gets to be in that role that we kind of want to see him in. But yeah, this sucked. That's the bottom line, for lack of a better word. This sucked to hear that it's going to be another 3 or 4 weeks before he's reevaluated. You know what I mean? Before we even find out, can he move forward? Can he go ahead and take that next step, being physical with the contact and things like that. Because the contact is an important part of Coby White's game. Because he uses his size and he knows how big he is. And, that's going to be an important part of his game, man. So, man, just hoping for the best, Matt. Hope it gets better, faster, and just hope he comes back stronger because no matter how long it takes for him, you want him back at 100% and at maximum capacity where he can be Coby White.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for the Bulls to get the Coby White that we know and love back and a part of Billy Donovan's rotation, because I think he will absolutely give that Bulls second unit a punch that it really could benefit from. All right, so those are the updates on Patrick and Coby. Hopefully we'll see Patrick in the Bulls preseason finale tomorrow night against Memphis. Speaking of which, we still got to look ahead to see what we want and what we might see from that game. Before we do that, we got to talk about this article from you-know-who. And before we do that, Big Dave, you got to tell our listeners where they can go if they are dealing with some excessive sweating issues, which I know you and I both have dealt with.
Oh, dealt with it, deal with it. But guess what? It don't control me no more. You know why? Because I got the offensive lineman, baby. I got them in. I got the all-pro offensive lineman, and they are called Sweat Block. Doctor created, doctor recommended, works up to 7 days per use. And my favorite, the dry shirt guarantee. If Sweat Block does not keep you dry, you get your money back. You want to know how it works? Because firefighters tested it. Oh, they tested it out, behind closed doors. No, they did it on television on the Rachel Ray show. So shut your mouth and get you some. Oh, maybe it's not big. It don't really sell. Currently #1 in Amazon antiperspirant category. Like I said, shut your mouth and get you some. Wear what you want. It's your little secret of confidence, man. Make sure you take it with you. You can take it with you anywhere. Use it at any point in time. It will work. Go to sweatblock.com. Use that promo code LOCKEDON to get you 20% off. And you can also use it on Amazon or use it at CVS. Sweat Block. It'll keep you dry. Oh, Sahara Desert dry. I love it.
That left me speechless for a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we are. We're going to talk about a column that was written by one Joe Cowley that came across my Twitter feed Wednesday afternoon. Now, we've talked about Cowley and the way that he handles his beat. We've even had him as a guest on this very podcast. Let me state this at the onset here. I respect Joe Cowley for what he does and for as long as he's done it. I think he stirs the pot in a way that a lot of beat writers are not willing to do because they're afraid of risking certain relationships that give them access to certain people within organizations that they cover. Okay. And when the Bulls organization was gaslighting the crap out of this fan base, Joe Cowley was one of the few people who actually called them out on doing so in the public and in the media. I've always respected and appreciated that about Joe Cowley. Recently, he's had, I think Bulls fans are starting to lose some patience with the way in which he is harping on Zach LaVine and his contract, Dave.
He has. He's been a staunch guy. He's been definitely all over Zach. But it isn't new. I don't think he's really been about this.
He's been doing it for years.
So he's been constant. He's been consistent in his feelings on Zach LaVine. I'll say this about Joe, because I said this about when I had him on our podcast on Ball on Bulls, which was an excellent show. I really enjoyed talking to him. I said to him, I was like, what makes a great writer is somebody that you agree with and disagree with. That's how I feel it makes a great writer. And Joe does that well. Like, I'll be like, yeah, that's right, Joe. And then the Saints will be like, oh, Joe, come on, man. Nope, don't believe you. That's not with that. That ain't it. And, he's very, he tells the truth as he sees it. And he's very honest from, his perspective. But sometimes, he can go over and I'm just like, all right, man, I ain't with you on this one, bro. Like, I can't deal with you on this one.
Speaking of that, and maybe it's because he thought, well, I've been writing pretty much a lot of columns about Zach and how he's got to prove it. And like, should the Bulls give him this contract? Do the Bulls want to give him this contract? Does Zach want the Bulls to give him this contract? Maybe let's just pivot just for a minute off of Zach LaVine, Joe, And so I see this headline come across my Twitter feed from the Chicago Sun-Times. More action, less talk for Bulls forward Patrick Williams. Okay, right out of the gate. What? Like, I saw the headline and I was like, this is clearly clickbaity, but I'm going to read it because I want to see what Joe has to say here. And basically, it's an entire column of quoting Patrick Williams about his role on this team. Things like, you just got to know what we've got to do. That's win. Whatever it takes to win, I'm good with it. Every game, every situation is different. It's going to take certain guys to step up and certain guys to play a role. I'm fine with either one. Winning is the main objective. As long as everybody is taken care of, everybody's happy, my job is to help the team win in any way I can. And Joe Cowley takes that comment and turns it into the word excuse for why Patrick Williams was perhaps not more statistically and confidently aggressive as a 19-year-old rookie who was thrown into the deep end, and is essentially a column continuously saying, enough excuses, let's see it. From a guy who is just answering questions about his game, his role, giving perfectly honest and correct answers, which is, whatever my role is whatever coach wants me to do, whatever I could do to help my teammates win. Like, what is this? Like, what is this, like, shut up and dribble nonsense from Cowley? For a guy who's like, you're saying, you better prove it. It's like, he's rehabbing a sprained ankle right now. All he can do is talk, and he has to talk because he is forced to talk, because that's part of a contract of an NBA player, is meeting with the media and answering their questions. Let me ask you some questions about why you didn't have a more impressive rookie season. Would you stop talking about yourself already? What is this doublespeak from Joe Cowley? Get this you-know-what out of here.
Oh, man. It's funny that you pointed out that specific part of the article, because as I've said many times on here, we share a brain, and that specific part stood out to me. But what stood out to me more on that article, Matt, is that Patrick Williams said the word win 4 times. That's what got me more than anything. I was like, oh, this dude really wants to win. Here's what I thought, because I definitely read that. Here's how I feel about it, Matt. I didn't truly hate it. I had a problem when I'll tell you when it went left for me. So there were 2 paragraphs here for me. This was the first one. Too many teases with the float game and rainbow three-pointer early in the first quarter possessions, only to see the 6'7", 20-year-old man-child seem to crawl in the backseat of the car for the remainder of the game. Harsh, but I don't think he's completely wrong here. Patrick Williams did do that. He would take those shots. He would do that in the first quarter, and then we wouldn't see him again for the rest of the game. Whether it was because he was more focused on defensive end, because he was guarding whoever the best player was, or whatever was going on, I don't disagree with him on that. I wouldn't have worded it that way, but that's Joe Cowley. That's how he rolled, okay?
That's Joe being Joe.
Here's where it lost me. When asked about it numerous times, including this offseason when he actually showed some aggressiveness in the summer league, it was the same excuse. Excuse time is over, but will Williams finally get that? This is where you lost me right there. Because when you asked it numerous times, including the offseason, when he actually showed some aggressiveness in the summer league, sentence is over right there. Because you're asking him about what he did last year, and you're telling me he improved on what you're asking him that he did last year because he showed it in the summer league. So you're like, okay, you had a lack of aggressiveness last year. Tell me about your lack of aggressiveness last year. What I tell you all the time, Matt, saying ain't like doing. He out there saying it, but he's over here doing it. You're saying you worried about what he said, about what he did about last year. You worried about the talk of it and how he's saying it. He went out in summer league and he did it. Because we both said this. We both said, man, we want to see him be more aggressive and be like, yo, I'm the baddest dude on the floor. And we saw him do that. We saw him go out there in that summer league and do that, Matt. Mm-hmm. Demand the basketball. Yell at his teammates. Tell him I'm the best player on the floor. I get the ball in the end. That's what we wanted to see. So you can't sit there and call it an excuse, because it's not. He actually went out there and he did it. He showed you, yo, this is a change I am making in my game. He showed you in the summer league. So if you're telling me that you saw it, you can't sit there and criticize him and destroy him about what happened last year. He improved on it, and that's all I cared about, is that he showed that he improved on it.
Right. I think the reason that this one, because a lot of Bulls fans would probably read this and just say, oh, it's Cowley. That's Cowley being Cowley, classic Cowley. whether you like him or you hate him, or you don't read his stuff. To me, the reason that this one felt really like different in a way that was insulting is that like I've always at least respected and appreciated Cowley's integrity as a journalist. He puts stuff out there that others don't, but the guy always has his sources, and the guy is doing his job. He's doing it in a way that is bold that a lot of people don't. But whether it was calling out the Bulls front office or calling out Jim Boylan or calling out Jimmy Butler or this, that, or the other thing, whatever it was all rooted in like honesty and Joe's evaluation of what was going on. This just to me seems like gotcha journalism. And I've never thought of Joe Cowley as a gotcha journalist. He's abrasive in some ways, like that line about, crawling to the backseat of the car or whatever, like you said. Yes. But he has never, in my opinion, been a gotcha journalist. And this is like, okay, let's talk about the fact that, maybe there were some nights where you didn't get as many shots up as you should have, or that you looked timid at times as a rookie. And let me ask you all these questions about your transition from year 1 to year 2, and then write a story that essentially says, well, shut up, stop talking about it, show me. It's like, dude, you're asking him questions.
Yo,
don't ask the man questions and then say stop talking. That is gotcha journalism, and it's gross. And I at least expect more from Joe Cowley. This is a miss, and it is a miss that I find offensive from Joe Cowley.
Because that line I just talked about, Matt, like it's like asking somebody who is struggling to lose weight, who you've seen has lost weight, how come you struggled with it last year?
Right.
Why are you still bad about? Why were you bad about it? That's an excuse. Like, no, dude, I did the work and I improved on what you did. Yeah, but last year you sucked at it, so that's what I'm going with. It's an excuse. I had an issue. Yeah, that bothered me more than anything. And you're right, Matt. Like, he could definitely be abrasive. Yeah, he could definitely come off strong. You know what I'm saying, to everybody. Like his brown liquor. You know what I'm saying, to everybody, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he could definitely do that. But I never mind when somebody says something as long as it's rooted in fact. If you're giving me facts, I can debate how you saying it. I can debate that I don't like how you saying it. But if it's the truth, I can't argue the truth. You know what I'm saying? So when it gets beyond that, which is where Matt is at with it, which is where I am at with it as far as that portion of the article, that's when you get this. You know what I'm saying? That's where, like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Not that. So I will say he's right in the sense that Patrick Williams does have a lot to prove this season. You want to see the growth of Patrick Williams' game this season because of the talent that they have and the expectations now that the Bulls have this season. And there's a lot they're expecting from Patrick Williams as far as, what he'll fill in and what he'll do for this team. And Billy Donovan said as much in the article, and he knows what Patrick Williams needs to do. And you mentioned earlier, Matt, talking about his conditioning and things like that.
Right. You can say all of those things. We got to see a big season for Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams' progression from year 1 to year 2 is going to have a big impact on just how good this Bulls team is overall. Can he improve his conditioning the way his coach wants? You can ask all those questions and put all of that out there without telling him to stop talking. Do not tell him to stop talking, because you know why he's talking? Because the media is asking him questions. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's move on and talk about actual basketball. We got a Bulls preseason finale tomorrow against the Memphis Grizzlies. Before we do that, though, just want to remind y'all that if you haven't found a place to get all of your sports betting fixes, I mean, we've been telling you for months now, years probably. It's Bet Online.
Years.
Back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron. We got a Thursday night football matchup in the NFL tonight. A huge slate of college football and NFL games. And guess what? Hoops are back too. So a few more preseason games you want to throw some bets on, or NBA regular season, right? And as always, online.ag is your number one spot for all pro and college football action this season. With a new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive that 50% welcome bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet online where the game starts. And again, that's promo code locked on at sign up. Big Dave, preseason finale.
Yes,
simple question. What do you want to see, man?
I want to see Ja.
Yeah.
Just cause I just want to see Ja. But from the team, I think just what the main theme of this show, Matt, is Patrick Williams. That's what we want to see. I want to see Patrick Williams. I want to see how the ankle is. I want to see where he fits in. I know in my head where he fits in, but I want to see it. You know what I mean? I need to see it and for it to be tangible. So I need to see it. And I'm excited to see that. So the starting five, which is weird to say in the fourth preseason game, but the starting five is really what I'm looking at because I haven't seen it yet in the preseason, the starting five as they want it. So that is what my main focus will be, is looking at that starting five, how they gel, how they do. Also, I'll be looking at Ayo, and I'll be looking at Stanley Johnson, and I'll be looking at Alize Johnson, because there's going to be a battle, Matt, for those final seats on the bench. Would those guys stay there? Would they go to the G League? Who's going to be cut? Stuff like that. So I'll be looking for that. I'll be looking at that battle also. And maybe Tony Bradley gets back too, because I saw he was back also in practice.
Right.
And they said he was feeling better. So maybe we get to see him and see, what we got in Tony Bradley a little bit. So yeah, I'll be looking at those things. Those things be my thing.
Yeah. And speaking of Bradley, that to me is a big one. Hopefully we get Patrick Williams back into the starting lineup. And even if we do, how do these Bulls, who even with Patrick Williams, I think, across the board, we've talked about how they are undersized, not in length, but in height. Yeah. And the Grizzlies have a serious Twin Tower situation going on with Jaren Jackson Jr., the young buck, and the old wily vet, Steven Adams. I mean, the Grizzlies have been kind of staggering these preseason games. They'll play their real starting five in a game and then rest them the next game. In the games that they've played their guys, and we'll see if they do that for the preseason finale tomorrow night, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, John Morant, that like they're all getting upwards of 25 minutes per game, sometimes even above the 30-minute mark. And how do you go about dealing with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams? And simultaneously, John Morant, and we know how special he is after watching him in the league for a couple of seasons now. Special. We're excited about the fact that we think this Bulls perimeter defense is going to be better, and that Lonzo and Caruso and those guys being pests as soon as that ball nears half court and fighting their way through screens and these man coverages is going to help the Bulls bigs defensively. But the Bulls in this preseason have not faced a John Morant when it comes to trying to really slow their opponents down at that point of attack. And how do they couple trying to deal with Ja and those two monsters in Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. simultaneously?
That's a great point, Matt, because as great as they've looked, and the Bulls have looked absolutely awesome, we've been bum slaying. We've said that many times. That's what we've been doing, is bum slaying. Memphis ain't no bums, man. Memphis is serious, all right? They are a serious straight-up team with an elite point guard. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is no punk, and Dylan Brooks is no punk at all. Like, this is a really, really good team. We'll see who they play and who they don't, but I still feel it's a good test for the Bulls to go out there and play this team, no matter who they're putting out there, because this is a team who will be in the mix as far as the playoffs are concerned. We know the Cavs ain't going to be there. We still don't know what the Pelicans are trying to do, but we know Memphis is definitely trying to make that move. So that's a good test, Matt. It's a very, very good test, because it's like that, and we need that, and we need to know how strong we are. You know what I'm saying? How good this team is, how strong the IQ is. So I know we're putting a lot on a preseason game, but it's just they haven't faced that kind of competition yet, because those previous teams aren't on Memphis's level, I think.
Right. As we're recording this just after noon Chicago time on Thursday, just got a tweet update from Casey Johnson. Bulls wrapping up practice. Patrick Williams, full participant again in Thursday practice, said he's optimistic that we see Patrick Williams play tomorrow night. So more good news on that front. Yeah, and then like you said, the other thing, as in addition to just like schematically how the Bulls try to slow down the Memphis Grizzlies is,
Mhm.
like you said, the competition of the guys on the back end of this rotation. And who does Donovan give maybe more opportunity, aka minutes to prove what they have, versus maybe who does he already feel he's comfortable in knowing what they have?
Mm.
Like you know Io is going to be on this roster.
Right, of
You know
course.
that. It's Stanley Johnson and Matt Thomas, I think. Those
Mm.
guys are the two most likely candidates to earn that 15th and final spot if the Bulls do want to start the season with 15. The other possibility is, like, they like both of those guys, but they don't love either of them, and they decide what they would rather have, knowing that they're comfortable with the depth as far as, Billy's rotation, and 14 is entering the season with 14 in case they want to make some kind of midseason trade. Well, they move somebody and take back two players. It's I wouldn't say that's the most likely scenario, but
Right.
those guys who are on that fringe right now, you got one more game and probably, I don't know, two stints in his rotation, 14, 15, maybe 20 minutes to prove what you got.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking, Matt, because I'm like, I know it's preseason and all, and people keep telling me that because the Bulls, how they looked and how they're beating. I'm like, yeah, but let them come out and struggle against Memphis and watch how those people talk. You know what I'm saying? Immediately. See, they didn't play nobody in the preseason. You see, when they played somebody, they struggle. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so that's why it's important to see this as well. I want to see what they look like. Because even if they struggle, I wouldn't panic. Because again, it's preseason. But I still would be like, come on now.
Right.
like, what are we doing out here? Because we're full strength. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that's why I want to see. I don't expect them to struggle. I just expect it to continue to be what I've been seeing. But yeah, it's important that they come out and they have a good showing against a good NBA team, in my opinion. Because I just want to see what it looks like and just give Bulls fans. We want all the hope. We want all the good stuff, all the things we could cling on to before the season begins next week. Oh my God, the season begins next week. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Less
It's next week.
less than a week, Dave. Yeah,
Oh
and honestly, you don't know what to expect other than you expect a bigger challenge than
yeah.
either game
Yeah.
against Cleveland and the Pelicans blowout. The Cavs second time around, and you and I talked about this, I think was more about the Bulls not doing things as well as they had in the first two games, as opposed to,
Yeah.
yes, give credit to Cleveland. They fought back
Sure.
after taking
They
that
did.
punch a little bit, but it was more about the
Yeah.
Bulls playing loosey goosey and making
Yeah.
mistakes and not playing that same level of defense. This is going to be different against Memphis because, like I said, they have had staggered real preseason and fake preseason games as far as who they're playing. In the games that they played their real guys, they were blowout wins over the Pistons and the Hornets. So,
Yeah.
like the Bulls were, bum slaying.
Yeah.
And then the other ones is, they played nobody against the Pacers and lost by 2. And then there was that first game against the Bucks where they actually only played 3 quarters because there was like a fire alarm situation at the stadium and they ended the game after 3 quarters because it was a preseason game and hard to gauge anything from that one. So
Yeah.
in the games where they play their real players, they bum slayed the bums. And
Yeah.
in games where they haven't, it's like, well, then you don't really learn anything from that.
Right.
Even just looking at that, you can tell this is going to be the Bulls' biggest test of the preseason. And I like the fact that they are saving that for last. And hopefully you see some real stuff. Speaking of that Bucks Grizzlies preseason game, though, Dave, and I had to mention this before we get out of here.
Okay.
That was the only preseason game that we saw an appearance from new Grizzlies depth backcourt piece, Chris Dunn. Played 5 minutes, couple of steals, and nothing else in the box score anywhere because, of course,
Sounds lovely.
you and John and I, when we were doing Bulls Outcast last season,
Yes.
had a lot of fun with that segment that we just kind of invented out of thin air called "Did you see what Chris Dunn don't tonight?"
No.
as opposed to Kendall Gill's "Did you see what T Rose did tonight?"
Yes.
Since then, Big Dave, he has been a DNP in their last 4 preseason games because of dental surgery and is listed day-to-day coming into tomorrow night's finale. We have got to get Chris Dunn revenge game at the United Center, preseason edition. We need it. We need it.
Now I'm more concerned that Matt will be in the building now to watch this, man.
Oh,
my
I
goodness.
will be heckling Chris Dunn.
Oh
Respectfully, of
man.
course.
Of course. Oh yeah, with the utmost respect. Of course he will. Is he still wearing? I didn't see. Is he still wearing number 32? Is that still the number for Chris Dunn?
That is a good question. Let me look real
Okay,
quick.
I'd like to know that if he's wearing that at all because I haven't seen. I've never
He
seen him
got
in any other
traded
number.
twice this offseason.
He did. He was traded 2 times this offseason, man. It's been wild to watch. I did see. I did see. Wendell Carter Jr. and I have been watching Daniel Gafford, of course, who had 14.17 rebounds in 26 minutes the other day, but we ain't gonna talk about that. He also taking jump shots too, so we ain't talking about that. But watching Wendell Carter Jr., I've been looking at the Magic. They trying him out at power forward as well. They're putting him at the 4 to see, if he can do his things, but it's still Wendell Carter Jr., so you're going to get your 10 points, you're going to get your 10 rebounds. And it's kind of been that steadiness of his stat line of what it's always been, that 10 points, 10 rebounds, there it go. But he looks a little more confident, which is good. He definitely looks more confident in his shot. He's not scared to shoot anymore, which I always tell you is not his fault that he being scared to shoot. I don't blame him for that. I blame the ball-headed menace who tried to destroy that young man. So yeah, I'll be watching closely. I'll be keeping tabs on all these old Bulls players that had that promise, but it didn't work out. And I just want to see what it looks like with these other teams. So League Pass will be on Pivot, and I will be watching Lowry because it looks like they want to play him at the 3. So I'll be interested to look at that too.
I don't know how they watched the Bulls try that experiment last season and decide anything other than, oh yeah, that's a waste of time. He can't play the 3. Because you asked, Dave, I just looked it up. Yes, Chris Dunn, at least listed on ESPN player profile, still wearing number 32 for the Memphis Grizzlies. And my goodness, just because I was there checking his jersey number, it popped up. Chris Dunn's official final 2021 regular season stats with the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay. All right. Am I ready?
1.3 points, 1.5 rebounds, 0.5 assists, negative 5.64 player efficiency rating.
Oh my goodness. But how many steals, Matt? How many
Doesn't
steals?
even list them in his player profile.
Oh man, nobody heard an argument more about steals than Chris Dunn when John would argue about steals with us and how they use this. Nobody was a better, argument destroyer than Chris Dunn about how John feels steals are useless. Like Chris Dunn was definitely a great argument for that. But hopefully, honestly, his kind of style of play, Matt, fits Memphis. As far as how they like their players, with that grittiness, that grind, that get on the floor kind of stuff. He fits that mold. But if they're looking for somebody to be a really good point guard with that, I don't think he's going to be that guy. But if they're looking for that grit and that grind, and that toughness, he's definitely got that for sure. He's got that down.
I want to see some Chris Dunn minutes on Friday night. I need it.
That's
I
like
need it in my
bottom line.
life.
I need my Chris Dunn minutes.
That will be the cherry on top of a wonderfully fun Bulls preseason. And ideally a Bulls victory, so they go perfect 4-0 in preseason. This is exciting, man. We are almost there. I feel like every episode we do, we are inching closer and closer. This is our last episode before the day of the Bulls' last preseason game, and then and then the weekend will be here, and then the weekend will be over before you know it, and then boom, it's the week of the Bulls 21-22 season opener. That's so exciting. But Big Dave, before we get out of here, just a reminder to all of our listeners that interview that we were teasing last week that didn't happen, it's happening tomorrow, folks. That's how we're going to wrap up the week with a special guest for our Friday episode. So make sure you tune in tomorrow as well. Nice little string of some fun guest appearances recently, Dave.
Not bad, man. Jamal was awesome, man. That was much fun having him on here too. So yeah, we had to get somebody on his level and on his caliber. So hopefully this guest will be that. We think he is. So hopefully this guest will be that for you guys, and you'll enjoy.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody for listening. Just a reminder, as always, to hit us up. The text to voicemail line 331-979-1369. You can email us, lockedon.com, and follow us on Twitter. I'm at Bulls_Peck. Dave is at BAWL, BAWL Sports. We are at Locked On Bulls. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you tomorrow with our 5th and final episode of the week. See Red, be good. Peace out.